Inside OpenAI, the company that built ChatGPT, agents now generate 99.8% of all output. Their own workers barely use ChatGPT anymore. The data dropped today, and it proves a shift almost nobody saw coming. OpenAI just published an economic research paper, not a benchmark, not a product launch, their own internal usage data, how their employees actually use AI, tracked over the past year. And the story it tells is simple. Chatbots answered questions, agents do the work, and inside OpenAI, the agents already won. If you're still using AI the old way, typing a prompt, copying an answer, moving on, you're running on a model that even the company that invented it has already abandoned. The shift from chatbot to agent is the biggest change in how we work with AI since ChatGPT launched, and this isn't a prediction or a roadmap slide. OpenAI published their own receipts today. Real usage data from real people doing real work. Here's why it matters if you build games. The chatbot model gives you answers. The agent model gives you completed work, an inventory system, a save system, an entire game subsystem built, tested, and delivered while you go get coffee. The data shows people are already doing this at scale. The question is whether you are. Let me walk through the numbers because they're worth sitting with. Inside OpenAI, Codex, their agentic coding tool, now accounts for 99.8% of weekly output tokens. The company that built ChatGPT, the most successful consumer AI product in history, inside their own walls, ChatGPT generates less than 1% of output. The average OpenAI worker generates over 85% of their work through Codex agents. Engineers at OpenAI crossed over to using Codex as their primary tool back in December of last year. But here's the part that surprised me. Legal, finance, and recruiting all crossed over around April. And when they crossed fast. The lawyers and recruiters at OpenAI now generate over 85% of their output through Codex. Now look at task size. This is where it gets real. OpenAI measured how much human work each Codex request represents. By May of this year, 80.6% of users had delegated at least one task that would take a human over 30 minutes. 70% delegated something that would take over an hour. And 25%, 1 in 4 users, delegated a task that would take a person more than 8 hours. 8 hours. That's not a question and answer session. That's handing off an entire feature, an entire system, and saying, go build this. Then there's the heavy users, the top 1%, the people pushing this the hardest, generate over 60 hours of Codex agent work per day, not per week, per day. They're running multiple agents in parallel, each one grinding on a different task. One person, 60 hours of work output every single day, and the adoption curve isn't slowing down. Research department usage at OpenAI jumped 56 times since November. Customer support up 32 times. Engineering up 27 times. These aren't linear gains, they're compounding. But here's the stat that changes the conversation. Over 1/4 of all the work done by business function workers using Codex was engineering or coding. Finance people writing code. Marketing people writing code. Operations people writing code. Not because they became developers, because agents lowered the cost of crossing that boundary. A finance person who needs a data pipeline doesn't wait for an engineer anymore, they delegate it. Non-developer adoption is where the growth is explosive. Since August of last year, non-developer individual users grew 137 times. Non-developer organizational users grew 189 times. The fastest growing group of Codex users isn't developers, it's everyone else. There's a pattern in the data that OpenAI calls out explicitly. People start using agents for small things, then they get comfortable, then they start delegating bigger and bigger tasks. The agent gets more capable, so they push harder. The loop compounds, and within a few months, the chatbot is a footnote. The shift doesn't happen because someone reads a blog post and changes their workflow overnight. It happens because once you've delegated your first 8-hour task and gotten back working code, you can't go back to asking questions one at a time. Think about what actually changed. A year ago, you'd ask an AI how to implement a save system and it would give you code snippets. You'd paste them in, fix the errors, adapt them to your project. That was the chatbot model. It was useful. It saved you a search, but you were still doing the work. The agent model is fundamentally different. You say, build me a save system with JSON serialization, version migration, and auto-save every 60 seconds. The agent reads your code base, plans the implementation, writes the files, writes the tests, runs them, fixes what breaks, and delivers a working system. That's the shift. Not better answers, completed work. So what does this look like when you're building a game? Let me be concrete. The chatbot workflow is what most people still do. You hit a wall. Maybe your enemy AI isn't pathfinding correctly. You open a chat, describe the problem, get a code snippet, paste it in, test it. It doesn't quite work. You go back, ask a follow-up, 15 minutes of back and forth for a fix that's 10 lines of code. The agent workflow is different. You tell the agent the enemy pathfinding breaks when the player moves to a new chunk. Find the bug and fix it. The agent opens your project, reads the navigation code, traces the issue, writes the fix, compiles, tests, and tells you what it changed. You review the diff. Done. Now multiply that across a full day. An inventory system in the morning, a dialogue system in the afternoon, a bug sweep across your combat code while you're eating lunch. That's not hypothetical. The data says a quarter of users are already delegating 8-hour tasks. The people doing this aren't working harder, they're delegating wider. Let me walk through how this actually looks in a real game dev session. Because the data is one thing, using it is another. Start with something medium-sized, an inventory system. In the chatbot model, you'd spend a day on this. Research item stacking, weight limits, drag and drop UI, save serialization, write the code in pieces, debug each piece, wire it together. In the agent model, you write one prompt, build an inventory system for a top-down RPG, support item stacking up to 99, weight-based encumbrance, drag and drop sorting, and JSON serialization for saves. Follow the existing code patterns in the project. Then you let it work. The agent reads your code base. It finds your existing item data structures. It sees how you handle UI in other systems. It writes the inventory component, the UI controller, the save integration, and the drag and drop logic. It creates test scenes. It compiles. If something breaks, it fixes it. 20 minutes later, you have a working inventory system and a diff to review. While that agent is building the inventory, you start a second one. Build a dialogue system with branching conversations, condition checking, and portrait support. Different agent, different system running in parallel. The inventory agent doesn't know about the dialogue agent. They're independent streams of work. A third one, audit the combat code for bugs. Check for edge cases in damage calculations, status effect stacking, and def handling. The agent reads through your combat scripts, finds issues you didn't know about, writes fixes, and gives you a report. 3 systems, 3 agents running at the same time. You're reviewing diffs and making decisions while they work. That's how one person generates 60 hours of output in a day. Not by typing faster, by multiplying themselves. Now, when those agents finish, you don't just blindly accept everything. The workflow is still yours. You review what each agent produced. You check the inventory logic against your game design. You make sure the dialogue system uses the right portrait format. You verify the combat audit findings are real bugs and not false positives. The difference is that you're reviewing completed work, not writing it from scratch. Reviewing is faster than building. Always. And here's something the data implies but doesn't say directly. The people generating 60 hours of agent output per day aren't watching a single agent work for 60 hours. They've learned to batch. They line up 5 or 6 tasks before lunch, kick them all off, and review the results in a single session. It's a rhythm. Delegation burst, review burst. Delegation burst. The agent does the grind. You do the judgment calls. The key shift is the delegation size. Most people are still thinking small. Write me a function that does X. That's a chatbot prompt wearing an agent costume. The real unlock is when you stop asking for functions and start asking for systems. Build me the crafting system. Implement the quest log. Set up the audio manager with adaptive music. Each one of those is a 30-minute to 8-hour task, and the data says agents can handle them. The resistance I hear is always the same, but I need to understand the code. Yes, you review the output, you read the diff, you understand it after it's built, which is faster than building it yourself. The agent does the implementation, you do the architecture and the review. That's a different job than writing every line by hand. And the OpenAI data makes one thing undeniable. The people adopting agents fastest aren't developers. Non-developer usage grew 137 times since last August. That means artists, designers, writers, people who never wrote code are now delegating coding work to agents and getting results. Over a quarter of the work done by business teams using Codex was engineering. If you're a solo game developer, that means your concept artist can prototype a mechanic. Your writer can build a dialogue tree system. Your sound designer can script an audio manager, not because they learned to code, because the agent handles the implementation. The barrier between roles just dropped. Now, the uncomfortable part. OpenAI published this data for a reason. They want you on Codex, not ChatGPT. The agent model burns more tokens, more compute, more revenue per user. This isn't charity. OpenAI is a business heading toward an IPO, and every hour of agent runtime is money in their pocket. There's also a sampling caveat. The individual user data comes from a 0.1% sample, and the task time estimates are model generated, not measured with a stopwatch. So treat the specific numbers as directional, not exact. And this data is OpenAI measuring OpenAI's own tool. The agent shift is probably happening faster inside OpenAI than anywhere else. But every indicator says the gap between frontier users and everyone else is widening. The early adopters are compounding, the laggards are standing still. And let's be clear, this isn't just an OpenAI story. The same shift is happening across Claude Code, Cursor, Windsurf, and every other agentic coding tool. When the company with the most AI-saturated workforce on the planet publishes data showing their own people have abandoned chatbots for agents, that's a signal for the entire industry. The tools are different. The pattern is the same. So what does this mean for actually shipping a game? The builders who've already shifted to agents aren't writing more code. They're delegating more work. The inventory system that used to take a week is a 20-minute agent task. The save system that sent you to a tutorial is a prompt and a coffee break. The parallel agent pattern means your combat system, your UI, and your audio pipeline can all be built at the same time by 3 different agents while you focus on game design. The non-developer stat is the real unlock for small teams. Your designer can prototype mechanics, your writer can build systems. The boundary between having an idea and having a working prototype just collapsed. The people who read this paper and act on it, who start delegating 8-hour tasks instead of asking 5-minute questions, those are the ones who ship games faster. The data isn't a prediction. It's a description of what's already happening inside the companies that are winning. Everything I just showed you, the long horizon agent workflows, the parallel delegation, the shift from chatbot to agent, we're doing it live inside AI Craft. We're shipping real game projects with these exact patterns. If you want to see what agent-first development looks like in practice, join the community. The link's in the description. The paper is public. Read it, then start delegating bigger. Please feel free to subscribe and check out the links in the description below.